Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the videos of the paid request. This time for Joseph. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the Charles Bronson film Murphy's Law. Now, I've said before, I'll say it again, and I didn't grow up with Charles Bronson. The one film I did grow up with his was Death Wish 3, which I love. It's my favorite Bronson film. Absolutely love the over-the-topness of Death Wish 3. It's awesome. And my favorite Death Wish film, my favorite Bronson film. But I've caught a few other of his 80s movies, and I would say some of his best ones are done by the director J. Lee Thompson. Because he did this one, he directed 10 to Midnight, and he directed The Evil That Men Do. And if I did a top 5 Charles Bronson films, those three would be in it. Then Death Wish 3 is number 1. But like I said, Evil That Men Do was a nice surprise. 10 to Midnight has a nice, little bit of a slasher vibe to it. And then Murphy's Law, this is a pretty decent film. Mainly because of Charles Bronson and a bit of his back and forth banter with this thief played by Kathleen Wilhoite, which I remember her from Patrick Swayze's film Roadhouse. She's been in a few other movies. Pretty much, long story short, this person who Charles Bronson had put away for a long time, she's gotten out of prison. She wants revenge on Charles Bronson, so she frames him for the death of his ex-wife and her boyfriend. So he's on the run, and he's handcuffed to this thief they had caught previously, played by Kathleen Wilhoite. So the two of them on the run, trying to figure out who the killer is, while trying to avoid the cops, among other people. And there's also mob guys, headed by this guy named Vincenzo, who his brother was killed by Charles Bronson because the brother was escaping custody in an airport, killed an innocent person. Charles Bronson had to defend himself, shoots the guy through glass, and Vincenzo's mother swears vengeance on Bronson. So like Murphy's Law, anything bad that could happen seems to happen for this guy. And Charles Bronson, just like I said, I didn't grow up with him. I would say I'm more a fan of Clint Eastwood than Bronson, but Bronson, he does have that presence. He has that granite face that just showcases badass. And he's a guy you just don't want to fuck with. He had the right voice, and he was the tough guy, along with Eastwood and others, for the 80s. Now, I grew up more with Stallone, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, but from the 70s, 80s, Bronson was one of those guys for people like Eastwood. And I definitely see why. He's definitely got that tough guy presence down pat. And J. Lee Thompson keeps the pacing fairly well. It's one, and the action scenes are directed competently enough. I mean, there's not a ton of action. It's not wall-to-wall action. There's a bit of a shootout in the finale where Bronson's able to go up against the mob guys before he confronts the killer. There's a bit with a helicopter when they're escaping, and the helicopter has to crash down. Like I said, there's a bit of a foot chase in an airport where Bronson has to shoot the guy with practical blood squibs. Kathleen Wilhoite as the thief, she didn't do too bad of a job. I like some of her banter with Bronson back and forth. Definitely of the un-PC era, which I miss. Because Bronson's literally handcuffed to her and he's like, tell me the truth. You're a dyke, right? Try having someone say that today. Yeah, you like that, huh? I mean, you don't go to a women's prison, you don't have a lot of fun. And Kathleen's character, the thief, I will say one thing. Anytime she's on screen, they always have her cursing, but it's always trying to curse in a different, unique way. Either like calling people camel crotch, or you snot licking donkey fart, or it's just out of the blue, random cursing. And that's the whole point. That's like the whole running gag That literally at the end, Bronson says, "I'm gonna wash your mouth with soap." I will say, part of me was interested to see what other new curse word phrase she would come up with. This is the other part that was a bit annoying. I'm like, it's a bit much. Okay, we get it. You're cursing. We get it. We get the running gag. It got a little bit much and a little bit annoying after a while. Just it got a bit old. But I did like some of the banter between the two of them, where they're arguing about whether mayonnaise should be on a sandwich. You see a little bit of her guard come down around Bronson's character. I thought that was definitely one of the strengths of the movie. It was also an interesting choice that the killer was a lady, because it's not too often these badass tough guy movies, especially in the 80s, where the head villain, the killer, the serial killer, is a lady, and it's Carrie Snodgress, which I recognize her. She was in this film I think I reviewed a long time ago called The Attic from 1980. I mean, she's been in other stuff too, but that's the one I remember. And she definitely plays crazy fairly well, whether shooting people in the mouth or shooting people point blank with a shotgun and the blood sprays on her. And she definitely has the crazy eyes down pat. And I thought, yep, she's selling crazy fairly well. She's selling it $2 a pound. And even once in a while, Bronson has some fun interactions, like when he interacts with Vincenzo, the mob guy, and the mob's like, "Don't be cursing, my mom's here." "Well, I'm just telling you, we got you by the balls." "Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say, I don't mean balls. I mean chandeliers. Gone by the chandeliers." Now, I will say I do wish there was a bit more action, but I'm a sucker for that. Like I said, other than there's a point where Kathleen steals his car and she quickly crashes it, and a part with an airport, which goes by fairly briefly. Other than the scene where there's a helicopter that he steals, they land and they crash through a barn, and there's some bad guys there, where it's a drug lab, and Charles Bronson able to get a machine gun. That was a fun bit, but there's not a whole lot until the very end, which did remind a little bit of a Dirty Harry, in a good way, a Dirty Harry bit with the ending. Just had to see that, where Harry is dealing with mob guys, but also dealing with some other threat. I think the Deadpool did a little bit of that too. And I would say, because that was another one that had a killer that also does try to go after Harry, as well as mob guys trying to go after Harry. I would say I like the Deadpool more. The Deadpool I thought was a bit more fun, a little bit more action-packed. Had a great ending. You're shit out of luck. I love the Deadpool. I mean, come on, you got Guns N' Roses, you got Early Roll with Jim Carrey, you got Crazy Car Chase with a toy car, but it's got a bomb and they gotta get away from it. I love the Deadpool. It's actually my second favorite Dirty Harry film after Magnum Force. So I do wish there was a bit more action. I do wish there was a bit more excitement. I think I'd seen this film before once or twice, but it's been a while, so I guess I just remembered there was more action than there was. But again, there's some nice lines of dialogue. They're trying to get some info from a hotel, and the guy won't do it. So Charles Bronson goes, "Can you count to 5? You want to try without teeth?" And of course, the big line, which is the trailer line. As much as they can get away with it, of course. "Don't fuck with Jack Murphy." You can't go wrong with Charles Bronson saying something like that and unloading on someone with a shotgun. Super spoilers for the ending. Carrie Snodgress shoots the Kathleen, the thief, in the back with a crossbow. And then Charles Bronson has to chase after her, avoids an axe, pretty much kicks her down. She's asking for help. "I'll go to hell." I do like the line where Bronson goes, "Ladies first." Those little moments really add up to a fun bit of a package. But how the hell did the thief survive a fucking arrow into her back? As a bit of crossbow right into her back. And It's cool that she survived. I didn't want her to die, but I'm like, how the hell? At least like in a shoulder or something would you could buy a bit, but it's like to the center of her back. Any other movie, the person would be dead, and or paralyzed or whatever, but she just happens to be alive. I'm like, that's a bit hard to swallow. That was a bit. I didn't really care for that. That was a bit like, what the fuck, really? Or it would have been nice if Kathleen, like Charles Bronson, takes out. I would have preferred if Charles Bronson takes out the. If Charles Bronson, he does take out the mob people who are trying to kill him, shoots the Vincenzo guy with a shotgun, saves Kathleen from being crushed from this elevator. But I would have preferred if the killer's trying to kill Charles Bronson, and then Kathleen comes in, and she's the wild card, and either punches or smashes Carrie Snodgress, saves Bronson as payback for Bronson saving her, knocks her ass over, and then Bronson can say that line as they're both watching ladies first. I would have preferred that. I think that would have given a little bit of a oomph to Kathleen's character, a little bit of a payoff for her character, where okay, she's a thief, but she's able to do something right and saving Bronson for the times that he saved her. And that way you don't have the arrow in the back and like, how the hell is she alive? Questioning that kind of. I couldn't enjoy the ending. I kept thinking of that. I would have preferred that to give the Kathleen's character a bit more of a satisfying finale for her character. Even like, and that'd be a nice wild card, like crazy bitch who takes her out, a thieving bitch, knock her right in the face, and curse her out, like she does one of her weird curses. Hey, you snot licking bitch, or you dyke. Or you. Whatever the hell weird cursing she would give. Crotch sniffing dyke farmer. That's probably the type of line she would say. You snot, snot, crotch sniffing dyke farmer. I don't know. She just says weird curses. Crotch sniffing. I can't even say it. So her crotch sniffing dyke farmer. That'd be the line I'd give her. And she smacks Carrie, and then she goes. Reworked that, I think would have been more satisfying. By just, they figure, you can't save Charles Bronson, he gotta do it himself. I guess, I don't know. So again, little issues with the ending. I wish there was a bit more action into it. But overall, because of the banter between Bronson and the thief, because of Carrie Snodgress selling crazy fairly well, because of the little bits of action are there, nice to see for an 80s throwback. Not even throwback, 86. Again, I would say Death Wish 3 and Evil Dead Men Do, I like more. 10 to Midnight, maybe I'll put this a little bit above it. Because I like the banter between the two is fun to see. Charles Bronson kind of let loose a little bit. The way he tossed it. It was nice to see Bronson let loose a little bit, let his guard down a little bit with the humor. That was nice to see. But yeah, overall, yeah, I didn't mind Murphy's Law. It's a fun one. So with that, didn't care for the song at the end. I thought, I don't know, something about it. I guess I wish it was a bit more of a upbeat, rocking song. Kind of like Dirty Harry. A lot of Dirty Harry movies kind of had that. Like the Deadpool and others. So maybe something like that. I guess not all of them did. I don't think the Enforcer did, but... Or Madam Force. So, I don't know, I guess I keep thinking of the Deadpool, and I like the way the music, I thought, fit well. I don't know, I just wasn't big on the song. But with that said, pretty decent flick. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.